Today, I would like to begin with the 14th round. The title of today's lecture is the basic concept of the supernatural phenomena. Let's consider the supernatural phenomena that are related with the fourth dimensional world. First of all, let's see about the common sense and consciousness of the general people. The common sense of the humanity shows somewhat different shape in different regions. But once it resides in the brain of the people concretely, they usually believe it as a matter of course, and they reject other truths which is contradictory to it. The common sense that the earth is round became the prevalent general one only after Galileo had a trial in front of the Roman Pope. And before the trial, most of the people believed the geocentric theory, 전동설, geocentric theory. There are lots of similar examples as following. At the beginning of the 17th century, the pioneer of the empirical philosophy, Francis Bacon, said, "A rainbow is the illusion of some persons." In 1769, the elite researchers working in the Academy of Paris rejected the meteor falling phenomenon. And they said, it is quite impossible for any stones coming from the sky to fall to the ground. Next year, the city council made a report on the village Juriac of France, and the people then said that it was quite impossible for such a queer event to happen. When Edward Jenner invented the smallpox vaccination method in 1796, he was ridiculed by his colleague researchers. And the people were furious at him, for they thought that when they were vaccinated, their face and vocal sound might get similar to those of cows. He even thought to escape to a foreign country. In the modern times, I think that there are a lot of similar examples. For example, Einstein said that when a thing flies at the speed of light, time is prolonged and weight is increased. However, this fact is contradictory to the common sense. Einstein's theory proved to be right in the modern quantum mechanics theory, 양자역학 in Korean, in which scientists had experiments and watched the high-speed particles, and as a result, they concluded that Einstein's theory was right. Einstein said again that when a light passes through some strong gravity, it gets curved. This fact is also contradictory to our common sense, but the theory proved right too by the experiment done at the moment of the solar eclipse. They found that a star that passing near the sun during the eclipse gets curved a little, and our common sense proved to be wrong. Considering what we have seen above, we can understand the general trend that the common people believe the common sense of their times without regard to the genuine truth, and with that word, they usually reject firmly the things that are against the common sense. Next, let's think of the condition of scientific truth. As we have considered up till now, the common sense has lots of indistinct components. For example, it is our mind that thinks, feels, memorizes, and solves problems, but we do not know what sort of system it is composed of and how it was created. We live in the field of gravitation of the earth, but we do not know why any material has gravitation and how this gravitation is delivered with any delivering capacity. There are a lot of plants and animals around us. but we do not know well how these living things were born originally hundreds of millions of years ago, as they appeared for the first time on the earth, when there was nothing alive. When we think of all the things like this way, we can say that we live in the real world in which there are more unknown things than known things. However, we can listen to the news of the opposite origin of the earth momentarily, and we can cure disease with various drugs thanks to the research of the scientists. How do we do these things? The answer is that scientists send the question why to the area of philosophers, and they pay attention to the question how, and they find various principles of science, hence making things which are convenient for living ultimately. How do the scientists make this scientific principle or law? When they meet a new phenomenon that is unknown to the people, they set up a hypothesis for the first time. In other words, they make a hypothetical law. They think that in considering various conditions, this phenomenon may happen under this scientific law. Second, they usually make an experiment in order to prove the hypothesis. When anyone makes an experiment under the same condition, and when he or she has the same result, which explains the hypothesis mentioned above, the second condition is satisfied. Third, the hypothesis that has been proved to be true should not be contradictory to other scientific laws, because any scientific law should be applied to any place and any time. When the three conditions mentioned above are satisfied, the hypothesis becomes a scientific law, and the spiritual phenomena that will be mentioned from now on are just the same as the scientific laws. Next, let's consider the scientific research on the real existence of the soul. The spiritual science can be contained in the area of science, for it satisfied the three conditions mentioned above. When we investigate such interesting facts as following examples, we can conclude that they are not the accidental happenings or some illusions. For example, there are many people who said that they saw ghosts at the cemetery or the old castle. They sometimes say that in the dream they saw some already dead person who said to him as though the dead person were really alive. Therefore, we reach the final conclusion that there must exist a sort of soul so as to explain such phenomena. If we set up a hypothesis that there remains or exists a soul after a person dies, and some special spiritually competent persons can perceive these facts in person, we can explain the above mentioned phenomena naturally. Now, I'd like to say about the experiment which is indispensable for proving the spiritual science to be correct. And it is the second condition. There are lots of experiments such as spiritual photography, talking with a dead person, experiment for watching aura of a person, curing disease with the method of driving a spirit out, telepathy, etc. The only problem is that these experiments can be done by the special spiritually competent persons. And so it can be said, when all the people cannot do experiments, it is not science. We can say like this. However, when those extraordinary competent persons of the same level do experiments, and when just the same results come out, then we can say that the experiments can be contained in the area of science. When we think of the third condition, the relationship of the contradiction with other areas of science, we can say very positively on it. In other words, these experiments and explanations are not contradictory to other science areas like physics, chemistry, biology, etc. And we can easily explain the phenomena which were impossible to explain in the past. Therefore, the spiritual science has got all the elements for science. The theory that rejects the existence of the soul is rather a sort of non-scientific theory which cannot explain the various spiritual phenomena. Then let's think of the spiritual science. First of all, let's consider the structure of the humankind. The modern research institute of the soul and spirit of the human beings says that a man or a woman is composed of two elements, soul and body. Here, the meaning of the soul is somewhat different from the traditional terminology. That is, the soul here is ether. The Korean pronunciation ether, ether body or astral body, which is duplicated with the real body. So, the astral or ether body is translated as yuche in Korean, yuche. The soul has the same shape and size as the real body, and when a person dies, this soul is separated from the body and it goes to the afterworld, hence beginning the second new life there. This soul is a sort of creature containing the electronic energy, namely the electronic energy creature, and it is the main body of the all the thinking function. Here, the point is that how we can perceive and experience this soul. In the past, we used to hear that when a person dies, a sort of soul fire comes out of the corpse, and it hovers around the village for some time, and finally it disappears over the mountain. This fire is the soul or astral body, and we cannot see it at daytime, but at a special light, it can be seen by a special person. We used to hear that many people saw ghosts, but lots of people are not sure of the existence of them. However, the existence is not any illusion or fantasy, but it is real. When a person dies, he goes to the afterworld or the spiritual as well as the fourth dimensional world. However, when he excessively attaches himself to the present world, or when he dies by some incident, he can become a soul. He can become a soul changed to the earth. 지방령 in Korean, 지방령. And he cannot go to the afterworld. Then how can we explain the fact that soul exists really and it lives forever?